That was a quote by Swami Sivananda, a wonderful Indian sage. So you are here, I'm here because we want to learn or practice or be together and reflect on a spiritual practice, let's say, a practice of that makes us feel better. And our practice has two main aspects. There's always two main aspects. One aspect is the worldly aspect, the aspect that is just for things of the world, like having better health and having abundant resources, living in a good place, whatever it is that you're finding love and whatever it is that you want for your life, having the basics covered and then enjoying a good life, a worldly life. So that's what we call the temporary. Okay, that's the kind of aspect of our practice that focuses on that which is worldly and eventually is going to dissolve. So the other aspect of our practice, which is what we call the extraordinary practice, is the practice that, or is the aspect of the practice that aims to align us with that experience of our being, that it's free from any kind of bondage, that is free from any kind of conditions. Okay. Why? Because that's really our nature. Our nature is not this physical body, no matter how handsome or beautiful you are, or how in good shape you are, and how healthy you are, or those are temporary alignments that result from previous good actions. But the ultimate result, that the great teachers tell us, is just the realization of, oh, I am this whole universe. So this is very important when we are considering. One of the topics today is about how to have, what is it that makes a healthy relationship, and how to set up healthy boundaries. Okay, how to have joyful relationships. So, in my experience now that I'm becoming closer to be a senior citizen, it's really the quality of our focus on this kind of extraordinary practice, while in the world our intention to attain this kind of extraordinary result in this world so we can be of benefit to others, that is really at the foundation of all kind of joyful and very good quality relationships. So the more we can connect with this experience of being, the more naturally our true divine potential can blossom through our being. Like, I don't know you, but I read a lot of stories about saints and the miracles of saints, and you read these things about Jesus walking on water and doing all these things, multiplying the wine and the breads, and there's lots of stories that are very similar from Indian saints and from yogis and yoginis in our tradition. I have full faith that those things in some way or another were like that. I have no doubt. Okay, sometimes the stories handed down so become a bit more bigger, but I know firsthand of some incredible stories from yogis and yoginis who have developed the power through their practice. So the reality of this is, like, the more we can gradually keep connecting with this experience of being, you might think that this is silly. Oh, it's not much, it's just my experience of being. Well, all great saints tell us that it's by cultivating that experience of being that the siddhis, the powers that are ordinary and extraordinary, are materialized through our physical form. So this is extremely important. I keep going back to this because this is really the main relationship, or the main tip for any kind of relationship. one of the topics for today was this idea of having a good time. Some people are very prone and they have a good time easy. Some people are, their personalities are a bit, it's a bit difficult. They have more of a sense of responsibility, but the type of good time that we're having here is not just going out dancing, and which is fantastic. Is the experience that happens when you cultivate presence, and within that presence you gradually allow the letting go of tensions. I know a lot of good people with a very good heart, that live very tense lives, and this is why the second aspect of the healing smile that we're going to do a little bit now, so we start feeling this healing smile that is shining on our surface, that gradually softening the tissues, and that helps us release of tensions. I know very well, like this morning I mentioned, I think last week, that this is the first thing that I do every day when I wake up. I'm in bed, I do it this morning, like I realize I'm awake and my mind immediately goes to this sense of this luminosity that surrounds me, goes on my surface, and that fills me, and I do that while I'm laying there, whatever position I am. And even while you've been sleeping, you would say, well, I'm totally relaxed, but that's not true. Like, I can always observe, there's some tension that is releasing, especially maybe in the forearms, the hands, like if you observe yourself driving. I was driving the other day and I noticed myself, I'm holding the wheel with 10 times more tension than I need to, or I'm holding a pen, So those are tensions that are actually preventing the natural flow of energy through the channels. So the more you can release those tensions, actually the stronger you become. I have many tensions, so I'm little by little releasing, but there's a kind of strength that comes through the natural allowing of those tensions to release. And then there's a natural kind of bliss that the great teachers tell us that is, at the foundation of our being, that naturally starts flowing through the channels. And this idea of enjoying yourselves, or enjoying oneself, of loving oneself, it's something that every time is less and less conditioned by external experiences. You can be anywhere, you can be at an airport waiting for anywhere, you can be at the bank anywhere, and there's this profound sense of well-being, of bliss that is circulating through the body, that makes your life very, very enjoyable. Okay? It's not that you have to entertain, or you have to have parties, or you have to have... Those things are great if you like them, and at the same time can come with a lot of stress. So in terms of, I just made a little list today, so some things that I thought were important. Like in terms of relationships, especially in terms of enjoying oneself, one of the things that I have noticed in myself, and I have observed in others and friends and clients, it's like, I think we take way too many things too seriously, too much of the time, Then we become very defensive, very, very defensive. And then the minor thing irritates, or there's all these things that you need to defend. There's this whole thing now, this very touchy topic, obviously, but with gender, for example, so many genders. My daughter was telling me, I can't really keep track how many genders there are, and it's perfectly fine. And, everybody needs to express themselves in whatever way one feels and needs, and that's wonderful. The issue is like if you are shooting yourself in the foot by trying to force the world to comply to your needs, because that's going to be very tricky. You're setting yourself for a lot of disappointment and a lot of wrestling, and that doesn't mean that you cannot be who you are. You should be who you are 100%. There's no, this whole thing is about being who you are. But by aiming to place expectations on others, on how they are going to relate to you, you're actually capping the amount of joy that you can feel at any given moment if those expectations are not met. Okay? This is something that I learned many years ago. There was I was maybe 6 or 7, and I mean, this is something that happened internally. My dad is here, but he won't remember. Probably, I don't know if you noticed. I was 6 or 7, and there were some friends of my parents that had called. They would stop by the house, and my mom was preparing some, Spanish food, Spanish tortillas and things, and she was very, very happy preparing everything, and very involved, very like looking forward to this meeting, and they were playing cards, later on, and the time arrived, and these people didn't show up, and there were no texts at the time, so. And a couple hours later, they don't show up. So finally, these people call and said, "Oh, sorry, we forgot. We were somewhere else, and we're not going to make it." And I saw my mom's disappointment, and her frustration and her anger and her sadness, from this situation. And even being 6 or 7, I observed that. I said, "Wow, this is incredible." Why? For 2 reasons. One of them is like, when you do an action expecting another result than the action itself, you are bound to be disappointed. If you're preparing a meal for your friends, obviously it's nice if they come and you have the meal, but if your awareness is not the meal itself, that's going to be an action that is going to be bound to bring disappointment. Okay, that doesn't mean that, I don't care if they come or not. Of course, I prefer that they come, and we have a good time. But actions should be, the purpose of an action should be the action itself. Excuse me, because that's what keeps the awareness and the consciousness together in that moment. Does it make sense? So we are placing expectations, which you would say, well, it's normal to have expectations. Yeah, of course, it's normal to have expectations. Yet observe how much your expectations have brought you grief, So this is very, very important to observe. So from that experience, that, even as a little child, this, so I've been reflecting on this, like, and this has actually been guiding me for 40 years, like that event, so, it's not that you're not supposed to have friends or you're not supposed to have people over. Of course, you're supposed to have friends, but the action itself is the reward itself, So this is extremely precious. So I encourage you to do this, because then people are free and you are free. So the other aspect in terms of establishing both healthy relationships, healthy, joyful relationships, and enjoying yourself, is really to realize the fleeting, illusory, magical nature of every single moment. One of the main expectations that we place in the world is that change is not going to happen, or that if it happens, it's going to favor our wants, And that sometimes happens, but most of the time life, like my printer, has a mind of its own, So this idea of lessening the expectations that you place in the world, on the world, from the world, it sets you free. Obviously, if you're in a restaurant and you order a soup and they bring you a salad, and you wanted a soup, so it's normal that you say, "Hey, I expected a soup. I'm paying for a soup. Can you please bring me a soup?" And they should bring you a soup because that's what you ordered. But that doesn't come with an emotional turmoil. Yeah? Do you see this? Yes? This is very simple and might seem naive, and you might think, "Oh, he's cute," but just get going. But I've been in clinical practice for 20 years now, And I can tell you that the main thing that people come for to my office is for relationships. They might not know, they might not be able to express it in words, but that's what everybody comes for. They might come in for back pain, or for, you know, a sense of depression, or for, you know, whatever, asthma, whatever it is. But it always, 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 immediately the discussion moves into any kind of relationship with relatives, with parents, with whatever it is, with work. So what I've seen that it's actually the main cause of issues in relationships is to push expectations on others. You know? So this is just for you to consider. So the idea of having this practice that focuses on not only on worldly things, but on the extraordinary results, is like through the practice of healing meditation in any form, you know, through the practice of different kinds of meditations, one's awareness of the world starts becoming wider and wider. And then what one brings into relationships, when one expects from relationships, becomes wider and wider and wider, you know. And we become much at ease. This is what we're doing now. You know, I remember many years ago when one of my Tibetan teachers said, okay, and now the next few months we're going to do some practices on mind training, you know, mind training. And I thought, I was so excited. Wow, I thought, you know, they would give us all these practices with all these, you know, different breathings and techniques. And what we did, we spent months talking about relationships, because that's the real like mind training. How do you train your view of what you're perceiving? Okay. So what we're doing now is, you know, like pointing to some aspects of mind training. The quotes that I sent from Garchen Rinpoche, I want to read one. Some of you who come to the office, or, you know, I use these quotes regularly. So the idea of relationships, really the quality of our relationships has to do with the quality of our presence, and especially has to do with the quality of our self-care. You know, when you are able to take care of yourself in a good way, when you are able to daily, with no excuse, be proud of yourself because you're doing the things that you know they are good for you, and especially practices that are helping your mind to be calm, to be clear, and your heart to be loving, the quality of your relationships is naturally better, because you are more patient, you're more loving, you have an easier time understanding what other people are coming from, and especially you don't take things so personally. Okay. One of the things that you know, I'll say a red flag, but it's red flag is a bit work, but it's a nice expression, red flag. When somebody comes and they have so many toxic people in their lives, okay, oh, my mom is so toxic, oh, my coworker is so toxic, oh, my husband is so toxic. You know, when you have so many toxic people in your life, you know, maybe there's a need there for you to reframe how you're relating to yourself. And also to understand what is it that other people are adding into your life. So this first quote here, it says, to me, in this world, there are only two types of beings: my benefactors of love and my benefactors of patience. This is a quote from a teaching by Garchen Rinpoche. So two types of beings: the people who, my benefactors of love and my benefactors of patience. The majority of people are my benefactors of love. They are very kind and they help me. Some people, though, try to harm me and create obstacles. These are my benefactors of patience. The kindness of each benefactor is equal, and thus my love for them is equal. Maybe, though, and here is where the teaching comes, my benefactors of patience, those who try to harm me, are even kinder to me. And this is where the revolution starts, you know. My benefactors of patience allow me to practice the perfection of patience, the perfection of generosity, the perfection of joyful effort. I am thus very grateful to all those who do not like me and make me tame my anger. I'll repeat. I am thus very grateful to all of those who do not like me and make me tame my anger. At the same time, I feel great compassion for their sorrow. But as they allow me to practice patience and my anger and jealousy to gradually diminish, they are my teachers. Thus, in the end, when I attain enlightenment and all my anger and jealousy are no more, it is due to the kindness of my benefactors of patience. Thus, in the end, when I attain enlightenment and all my anger and jealousy are no more, it is due to the kindness of my benefactors of patience. So basically, thanks to the kindness of those who are giving me a hard time, their kindness is to give me a hard time, I will attain enlightenment because my anger and jealousy will be dissipated. Okay? And for this reason, I love them greatly. So this is in the text that I posted there. This is the revolution. You know, this is the essence of all teachings from the extraordinary level. And I know you all know this, you know, I mean, this makes total sense. This is something that, you know, it's out. The Facebook is filled with quotes of these people, of this kind, sorry, you know. I don't have Instagram, but I'm sure Instagram to whatever. Maybe there's even TikTok videos of this. My kids love this TikTok thing. Yet, for this to make sense, to you really embrace this, there's a whole abysm, you know. Intellectual understanding of this is cute. Putting this into practice, not running away, you know, not needing to set up boundaries. You know, the healthiest boundaries are not needing to have boundaries, you know. Okay, that doesn't mean that everything goes. No, I mean you can choose, of course, who you like to spend time with, but when you choose these things, it's not out of despair or out of anger. Oh my God, this person is so toxic, I don't want to be with them. Oh, this person is so toxic, let me see why they feel so toxic to me, you know. And that's the highest practice that you can have here. Why? And this is explained in the next quote. Garchen Rinpoche, these three quotes are from Garchen Rinpoche, who is, you know, the heart of so many of us, you know, like the spark within the heart of so many of us. So Garchen Rinpoche spent 21 years in prison when the Chinese occupied Tibet. He was in prison not because he was an angel and he didn't do anything. He was in prison because of his karmic traces, and you know, he has never blamed the Chinese for anything. Actually, he says that his 21 years in prison was probably the best thing ever happened to him. In prison, Khenpo Munsel, who is Root Guru, who they were in prison together. Sorry, the kids are upstairs. Not following my instructions of not running around. So if you hear stepping, is them. In prison, Khenpo Munsel Rinpoche taught me this, and this is very, very essential. You know, the extent of your realization will be known when you encounter difficult circumstances. All your yoga chakra, all your yoga classes, all your chakra meditations, all your mantra practice, all the whatever it is that you've been doing, all the sacred holy sites that you've visited, we will see if it has been of any use at all once your neighbor does something that you don't like, once your husband does something that you don't like, once you feel something, once you encounter difficult circumstances. Okay? It is only then that you will know the extent of your realization. Okay? You will not know the extent of your realization when things go well. And this goes again, all these kind teachers, all these people like, you know, that talk nicely and say nice things and sweet voice like I'm doing now, yeah? That's not very useful because there's no challenge, you know? It's cute. Now, when you find yourself in a troublesome situation, when you're in great pain, when you have an intense emotion that arises, now you will know the result of your practice. You know, I usually know how my practice is going once I'm sitting in the sofa with my mom. You know, see how many seconds, okay, it takes me. I remember years ago, I had been doing all this intense Zen practice, and I was with these shamans in Mexico and doing all these things, and I go to my house after living in the US for a while. So I go to my house in Spain, and I sit with my mom in the sofa. After 20 seconds, I wanted to explode, and even, I had not received this teaching back then from Garchin, but then I thought, I don't know if I've done so well. So this is what people call toxic people, or this need to put boundaries. Like, this is actually what, I mean, my mom is not toxic in any way, But so you get my point, eh? Adverse circumstances will reveal your hidden faults. So basically, adverse circumstances will reveal where your love is not shining. Okay. So to establish healthy boundaries, you have to establish first. You have first to dissolve the boundary within yourself of the union of your being with loving kindness, of your being with clear awareness. All the hours in the Kushin, all the mantras, everything, it's useful, and it's very useful if you direct it well. And at the same time, it's not very useful if it makes you more protective. So the key to all this is really to embrace a sense of self-responsibility on how you feel, and to stop pointing fingers, and to relish your being. And to embrace, to own whatever that you feel. Sometime back, I was one of my friends here in town is a therapist, and he was insisting very much, you should not own what you feel, it's the inner critic, and it never made any sense to me. So, well, but if you feel it, I mean, it's in you, so how do you don't own it? So our view is totally the opposite. No, is that what you're feeling is actually the pointer of which direction you have to address things. So the first direction that we, the first practice within the healing smile is just you ground yourself on the earth, and then you smile into this heavenly realm represented by the sun above the head, and you let this healing, loving light shine everywhere, and then you perceive the beauty of the world with its contrast.